What's going on, guys? Today we are back in Denver, Colorado, Cherry Creek area, and we are checking out the SONDORS LX. I'm super pumped. I've been wanting to check out the new mid-drive bikes from SONDORS. I mean, ever since I heard about them. Everybody has, right? I mean, they're a crazy good deal. You're talking $2,000 for this one. They've got the LX. This is the LX, and they've also got the Cruiser that's a little bit more city oriented. There's the Rockstar full suspension mountain bike, all of them using the Bafang Ultra M620 mid-drive motor. That's it right down there. This is a beast of a motor here. They've got it, it's 750 watts, peaking at around 1,000 watts, up to 160 Newton meters of torque for these motors. They're just absolute powerhouses. Super high capacity battery pack, the largest ever yet from SONDORS. That's a 48 volt, 21 amp hour battery pack integrated into the down tube right here. They really did an awesome job with the integration, and it's that's over a kilowatt hour of power. Like that's a big old battery, so you can get some pretty impressive range on this, even though it's a huge bike. Weighs in to just under 90 pounds. So this bike costs $2,000 if you were to order that right now from SONDORS. The price is probably going to go up at some point. They typically do this where there's a pre-order or an initial price for it, and then a little bit later down the road the price may go up by, who knows. I'm just speculating here. I don't have any official news on that. At least $97 for shipping, depends on where you live, and then you got to finish assembling it once you get it. Got a warranty on it, a 1-year comprehensive warranty, which is pretty standard for the direct-to-consumer bikes. But if you order one right now, you won't get it till at least August, is what they're saying on their website. Shipping delays and shortages on components and stuff like that. Plus, these are really popular. They've been, I don't even know how many pre-orders they've gotten, but it's got to be a pretty hefty amount. And so that can be, a little bit frustrating if you want to get your hands on one. You have to wait a long time. You can't test ride it since they're typically just an online only company, right? You buy it from them, they send it to you, you got to finish assembling it, get it all put together and everything. And if you have any problems with it, you might have to try and find a bike shop that'll work with you, which can be tough. The bike I have today, I got from eBikes USA down here in Denver. Thanks to the guys there for letting me use the bike for the review. So that's how I was able to get my hands on one of these, because I tried to get one from SONDORS even, and they said, we just don't have extra models to send out for reviews. You can come all the way to our headquarters in Malibu and do one, but I found this one in Denver, even better. Okay, so a little bit more, big picture here. SONDORS is really got quite a reputation in the industry, right? They're kind of outspoken, and they're known for having Kickstarter campaigns where they make some really wild claims for this bike's going to be powerful and be able to do all these things. It's only going to cost this much money, and then they've been consistently delivering and really upping their game on the quality and the craftsmanship on their products. I mean, look at the frame on this thing. This is really a unique design. It's got the high single chainstay and a lot wider hub spacing too. 190 millimeter hub spacing back here. It's really kind of an interesting setup. You can see how there's like some extra spacers in there to make everything fit. They've got the cassette in there on the inside of the chainstay and lower, so you don't have to worry about the chain slapping down on the top of it. Don't need a slap guard. 135 millimeter hub spacing in the front right up there. It's a huge bike. Weighs just under 90 pounds, so it's not something you'd want to ride home if you ran out of battery. It'd be a pretty good workout. So, but huge battery pack, probably not going to have to worry about that. If you've ridden SONDORS bikes before, this is probably going to feel most familiar to the XS. That was their sort of premium ultra fat bike experience bike before this, which I did cover 2 years ago when I went out to Malibu. This one feels very similar. It's got a forward riding stance, not really upright. I was expecting it to be maybe a little bit more of an upright, but it's a bit more forward. It kind of depends on where you position the saddle, and you could put on an adjustable stem if you wanted to raise that up higher, get a little bit more comfort. Big old 26 by 4.9 inch fat tires on here. These things are just monsters. They're super fun to ride, tons of air cushion. They don't have any puncture protection by default. They don't come with any, so you might want to look into adding something like that, especially if you live in Colorado like this. You can do slime or something like that, or you can, there's this really awesome new stuff that I found called Tannis Armor that I think would be great for big tires like this. You can even run flat on those if you did happen to get a flat. They've got punched out rims on here. This helps to cut down on the weight a bit, but every little bit helps when you're pushing the scales up near 90 pounds. So these are the first SONDORS bikes to have mid-drive motors, and this is a great quality one that they picked too, the M620 from Bafang. Tons of torque, really powerful, a lot of fun to ride. These are, you know, torque sensing instead of cadence sensing like all of their other bikes are. So it's not as responsive as, say, a mid-drive, you know, from Bosch or Yamaha. Those have torque and cadence and speed sensors, and are reading, you know, what is over 1,000 measurements per second or something like that. So this is not quite so fancy. It is torque, it is fairly responsive, definitely more responsive than cadence, but you'll still notice a bit more of a delay, and it's not quite as finely dialed in when you're talking about, you know, mid-drive from Bosch or something like that. But these ones are way more powerful, a lot of fun to ride, and a nice perk of these is you can have a throttle, right? Got that right here on the left grip, variable thumb throttle. Now, it doesn't come with the throttle installed. When you get this from Sondors, it ships as a class 3. You can see the sticker on it right here. So that means pedal assist only up to 28 miles an hour. But they send you a throttle, so you can add the throttle on, pretty easy to do. And you can see they did a good job. They got the extra cords wrapped around here so that keeps it looking pretty. Then you have the throttle option, and then in the display settings you can change your top speed. You could lower it down to 20 if you want to, or you could bump it all the way up actually as high as 35, so that if you're, you know, doing maybe some off-road riding on private trails and roads and something like that, and you really want to, you know, let it go, get some speed going, you have that option. We'll talk about those display settings in a bit, because they've got all kinds of stuff you can configure in here. And massive battery. I know I said this already, but 48 volt, 21 amp hour, that is huge. Biggest battery from Sondors to date, and one of the biggest ones that you can get, just period, for a single battery on an e-bike. High quality cells in here, LG 31650 cells. Let's go ahead and pop this out here so that we can take a look at it. So you can see I got the key in it right over here. So you gotta turn the key and it will unlock. So you can see it pops loose just a little bit. Then you gotta just get your finger in here. This thing is heavy. It weighs about 12 pounds. Just massive, and it's really sturdy, well built. We got the like alloy casing on it, and then there's that that's power switch right there, so you can flip it on and off, and you can actually access that while it's on the bike, which is really nice. Little button there so you can check your charge level, all the cell information there. You can see where it has the 18650 marker. It's I mean, it's just massive. It's huge. Let's get this put back in here. Now there's a little this little sort of triangle shaped thing here that you can use to line it up. Make sure you get it in there right. Now when you set it back in there, it doesn't lock in yet, so you've got to come over here and turn the key, and you got to kind of like, it's difficult with one hand since I'm holding the camera, but you got to kind of press this down and turn the key, and then it does, you know, there's no click or anything, so at first I was like, oh, is it locked in? But it's, you know, it's very snugly in there. And we'll go ahead and take the keys out. Really nice job on the integration here from the Sondors team. It looks so nice. I like that they have the black on the bottom here as well, so that it really goes well with the accent of the covering for the battery in the top of the tube there. You can pop this open to charge the battery while it's on the bike, and I swear this is like, every time I review Sondors bikes, the charging covers are such a pain to get off. My fingernails are super short too. Okay, there we go. Got it loosened off. So there's your charging port there. You can plug in the charger, on-off switch for the battery right there. It says on the battery that it needs to be switched off when you're charging it, which I haven't seen before, but you know, better safe than sorry, right? We'll go ahead and put that back in there. I do have the charger here, so I can show you guys that real quick. Yeah, pretty standard here. A little bit more powerful than normal. You're working with a 3 amp charger, so that'll charge it just a little bit faster, which is certainly appreciated with such a large battery pack. It's got a little fan in there, weighted in at 1.5 pounds with both cords, so you know, it's still light enough. You can toss it in your bag and carry it around, but you know, nothing fancy there, which I think is fine. Fast chargers can be nice, but I've never found myself in a situation where I really needed to charge my bike super fast, so I think that one is perfectly adequate. Look at the brakes here. We got Tektro hydraulic disc brakes. These are their Tektro Ariga E-Sub. So these are e-bike specific hydraulic disc brakes, 180 millimeter rotors. I mean, they work great. They've got motor inhibitors in the lines here, so if you squeeze those levers, then it cuts power to the motor. Really nice when you've got such a powerful motor and on such a heavy bike, right? You don't want to be trying to slow down the bike quickly and also having to fight the motor. That could be a pretty big safety risk. So solid job on the brakes here. Nice big 4-finger levers, very easy to actuate. They use these E-sub brakes on just about all of their bikes now, I think. They're really solid. That's one of the things that Sondors is really consistent at, is they reuse as many components across all of their bikes as they can. That's one of the things that helps them to keep costs down and be able to sell at such competitive prices like they do. There's that other brake rotor in the back there, 180 millimeters in the rear as well. Got that rear mounted adjustable length kickstand. Great position for it so that if you cycle the cranks backwards, you're not going to collide with the kickstand. Makes it a lot easier to do chain maintenance if you got to lube your chain or something like that. You know, a huge bike like this, if you don't have a bike stand, it's not going to be easy to, you know, flip it over backwards to mess, or upside down to mess with your chain. So good spot for that. And it is kind of sort of full suspension, right? So we've got air suspension up front here. Now they're branded Sondors air shocks, but this is a Mozo fork. We've got some info from Mozo on the side there. 32 millimeter steel stanchions on here. You're looking at about 100 millimeters of travel. It's, you know, 120 millimeters total potential travel, but it's gonna, you know, kind of collide with the bolt there for the headlight and everything. So you're looking at about 100 millimeters of effective travel up front. So it is a pretty basic fork, right? You can adjust your air pressure here on the left, and you've got a clicker over here for rebound on the right. So you can't you know, do any more fancy adjustments than that, but for this kind of bike, that's all that you need, really. You get so much comfort and cushion from these huge fat tires. And in the back here, we've got the suspension seat posts, which they've been using on a lot of their bikes. I think all the ones that I reviewed last year, or 2 years ago rather, had it here. The Exaform 625, so you get about 30 millimeters of travel here. It's not nothing fancy. It helps out, right? Stella Royale gel saddle is pretty comfy. If you want to adjust the preload on this suspension seat post, you can. There's a little adjustment spot for it right there. They did step up the diameter on the seat post here compared to the XS. This is a 30.9 millimeter seat post instead of the 27.2, which is great. A little bit more rigid, helps to support a little bit larger of riders. They've really built this thing to be just super sturdy and durable. I mean, we're talking 11 gauge spokes on the front and 10 gauge on the back. That's pretty thick. You know, a lot of bikes you'll see 12, 13 gauge spokes. So these are real thick, 36 spoke, super durable. I mean, this is one of those things where you could kind of just take it anywhere. If you're riding it around town and maybe like more of a commuting use, then that could be a little bit frustrating without fenders. I mean, I was already getting kind of wet and muddy just riding it over to the park here, going through a few puddles. You can see I got mud all over the bottom of the down tube there. It's got some mounting points back here so that you could, you know, maybe mount a rack or some fenders. You can see we've got some mounting points in there. It's a unique frame, so finding a rack and fenders that fit might be kind of a challenge. I think Sondors sells them. I actually haven't looked that up yet, but in the full written review, I'll have some information about potential accessories. If you're going to be using it to commute, fenders are pretty much a must, right? Now, you do get lights, and the lights are actually really nice. So I'm going to fire up the display here. We hold down the I button in the center. If you've ridden any of Sondors' other bikes here, it's a very similar setup here. They have done a bit more with just how they've tuned it, the settings that are available in here, which we'll look at in just a second. But when it fires up, it starts out in level 2 assist. Doesn't matter what level you left it in last time, that's what it kicks on to. Shows your, you know, your trip odometer right there, the total miles on the bike over on the right. You've got this nice little speedometer in the center here that shows, you know, you get the numbers in the center that show your speed, but then it also has a little infographic. If I hit the throttle to get it to start cycling a little bit, you can see that little dial going on there. It's a pretty good setup. I like it. Let's see here. You got the battery meter up in the very top here. It's just 5 bars, so it's not super precise, right? It's 20% steps. Could mean a little bit of range anxiety if you're, you know, just riding out a long ways from home. You're not sure exactly how much battery you have left, but I think the huge battery is really going to help to alleviate a lot of that. The lights here are not currently on, so you hold down the plus button and that will turn on the lights. So it actually, I don't know if you guys can see it on from the camera here, but it actually dims the display when you turn the lights on, which is really nice, right? So if you're riding at night, you turn on the lights, it dims down that display, so you don't have that really bright display that can just be really distracting and make it hard to see the road when it's dark out. So the headlight turns on here. It's pretty bright. It's good stuff, and it's got some side cutouts right there, so you get a little bit of side visibility here. shiny 80 on there, so I don't know if that, you know, means 80 lumens, maybe? I'm not an expert on such things. The taillights here, these are pretty interesting. They're bright. I mean, look at that. You can, you know, even in the daylight here, you can see them well. And if I squeeze the brake levers up here, they are brake activated. So they do get brighter when you squeeze the brakes. That's an awesome safety feature. This is a really interesting integration here, how they've got it on the chainstay down here. It's not the best place for it because it's down low, right? So if there's a car right behind you, they might not be able to see your taillights. You have the hood of their car is blocking it, and it's also just, it's lower out of your field of vision as a driver, right? So this isn't the best place for visibility, but I think it is still really good integration. I mean, the integration on everything for their wiring and stuff, running integrated wiring through the frame. Really, really awesome job with that. So I think it looks beautiful. You know, not the best placement for safety, but it's okay, right? And it's a white bike, at least the one we have here. So you get good side visibility from that. They've got a couple other colors too. You can get a carbon, which is, you know, black. And then they've got one called, I think it's called Aventador, which is blue, like a light, cool blue. All three colors look great. This is gonna be the best one for safety and visibility. Let's come on back here. Take a look at the display. I'm going to turn the lights off so the display will be a little bit brighter. Now you can hit the info button, or the I button in the center right there, to change some of your readouts. So right there you can see the max speed, 38.5 miles per hour, which was not me, but we'll see how fast we can get going a little bit later here. You can see your average speed, your 10 minutes ride time, which I think is just for the current trip. And then, you know, back out to the odometer. And if you want to get into the settings, you hold down plus and minus. And then, you know, you can go to the display setting menu here. It's a pretty nice one compared to a lot of other displays out there that can be a little bit cryptic, difficult to read. You can change your units. There's a service tip here, which I'm not sure what does. If it reminds you, you know, when your bike needs service, maybe. Gives you some kind of notifications. You can change the brightness, which, wow, we've actually only got that at 30%. So, oh wow, yeah. So if we crank that up to 100, that's super bright. That's awesome. Let's see, auto shut off. You can change your levels. So it's a 5-level system where you can go from 1 to 5 for your assist level. You can bump that to a 1 to 9 if you like having a little bit more control, maybe a little bit finer tuning there, or you can switch that to just 3 levels if you like to keep it simple. You can reset your trip timer. AL sensitivity, I'm not sure what that does. And then right here you could change your speed limit. You could drop it down to 20, or you could go all the way up to 35. We're gonna leave it 28 for now. If we go back, you can go into information, and they've got, I mean, a ton of stuff here. Interestingly, the wheel sizing information here, you can't get up to that to change it, so it seems like it is tuned specifically for this bike. You can go into battery info, and I mean, look at this. You can see the temperature and your voltage and everything. And if you go into the next page, the number of times the battery's been cycled, the total cell count. We'll go next page again. I mean, look at this. You see the voltages on every cell in there. That's pretty sweet. You usually don't get this level of diagnostic information. Torque sensor information, the display and like hardware information, you know, firmware. This is really good. I love to see this. It makes it easier if you're working on the bike yourself, maybe doing some modifications, which SONDORS is super popular for. You know, there's a lot of e-bikes out there that you can't really do much to modify the bike in any way. If you're getting, I mean, say like a Bosch powered bike, that's just how it is. You know, there's a lot of people who have one, and later on down the road, they say, hey, I want to add a throttle onto my bike. Well, you can't really do that with a Bosch mid-drive. But, you know, on here, you could do all kinds of stuff. You could add like a hub motor if you wanted with another throttle. You could add on more batteries, all kinds of good stuff. Include a USB port too, which is pretty awesome. That's it right here on the right grip. Well, in a little bit. That is a full amp, 5-volt, 1-amp charger. That means it will charge an iPhone in addition to charging Androids. So if you're someone who likes to charge your phone while you're riding, maybe you want to mount a speaker or something else, you're a little bit limited on real estate here. You could, you know, move these cords and stick something there. There's a little bit room on there. You could mount your phone. Always good to have that option. You're working with a pretty basic drivetrain here. It's, I mean, this is such a powerful e-bike, right? It's one that's definitely more about the e-bike than it is human-powered pedaling. It's a huge bike. You're not going to want to ride this without electric support in most areas, but you can. You know, you got Shimano Altus here, so this is a step up from their entry-level Shimano Tourney. So it's a 7-speed back here, and they did upgrade this back here. They were using a freewheel on the back here, the which one was it, the MFTZ 500, I think. So that was you know, a freewheel that was not quite as good as the cassette that we have here. This is the Shimano Hyperglide, 7 speeds, a bit bigger of a gearing range on it too here. You're going from 12 to 34 teeth, so that's a pretty decent spread there. It's definitely geared well for speed. You can really, I was getting up to 25, 28 miles per hour on the bike path over here with very little effort. 48 tooth steel chainring up front. You've got this alloy bash guard on the outside. It is just single-sided, but you've got a narrow wide chainring on there that helps it to grip the chain better, helps to keep the chain from flying off, and I think it's going to do the job just fine. It's still the twist grip shifter up here, the Shimano Revo Shift, for shifting through those 7 speeds. You can see which gear you're in. You know, it works solid. No complaints really. It's when I was shifting on it riding over here, I noticed it was a bit on the clunky side. This is a very new bike, so that is to be expected. I'll demo that for you when we get into the ride test. The grips up here are same as they've had on their bikes for quite a while now. Rubber ergonomic locking grips, so they're not going to twist around on you. Pretty comfy too, and it's just a little bit of a rise in that handlebar here. We'll come around to this side. So you get just like a little bit of a rise and a little bit of a back sweep to it. It's still a very, like a forward-ish riding position here. So not super comfy. I think the cruiser one might be set up to be just a little bit more upright seating here, whereas this is more, you know, more adventure, more, you can ride around town, you can do a little trail riding, you can kind of just take it wherever. It feels like the bike equivalent of an SUV. And I really do love the frame design that they've come up with here. I think there's, you know, there's always some room for improvement. They could put some bottle cage bosses on here. I mean, there's a great spot. There's plenty of room for it. And it's kind of difficult mounting bottle cages and other stuff on here because of the uniqueness of the frame, right? I mean, the down tube is massive, right? And then this back section right here just has just kind of a weird shape to it, right? So, I mean, you could probably figure out a way to make it work there. And mounting rack and fenders and stuff on the back, I imagine that Sondors has some, which you may need just because of it's kind of funky, right? It's shaped a little bit differently. The chainstay is super high, so a more standard rack might be kind of tough to fit it on there. And another, you know, easy win kind of an upgrade would be just like some reflective striping on the sidewalls of the tires. Great for side visibility at night. You know, puncture protection, of course, would also go a long ways, because a flat tire on these is not a fun time. They have such a high volume of air, so even if you do have a patch kit with you, it is just a pain to get them changed, to get back on the road. I think we've pretty much talked about everything here, so let's jump on it and go for a ride. You know, I've been riding it around a little bit already, so we'll talk about some of the stuff I've been noticing and see how it does. All right, get it fired up here. Yeah, that is just, oh, super bright. I can even see it through my polarized sunglasses, which typically I cannot. So I'm glad to see they did that. Let's see here. I'm going to bump this up to level 5. And then I'm gonna just ride around on the throttle on this grass here for a little bit. Now, a nice thing with a mid-drive motor like this is that it leverages your drivetrain, your cassette in the back. So if you've got it downshifted, you get more of a mechanical advantage for the motor. Great for climbing hills and stuff like that, better acceleration. We're down in gear 2, which is pretty good here. I'm just gonna hit the throttle, and you know, even on this rough, bumpy grass, oh, it takes off so nice. All right, I'm gonna come back down here. I don't usually ride with just my left hand. It's kind of a weird feeling there. Bump on down the curb. It really does feel like an SUV. I mean, it's, you're even riding one-handed, jumping down the curb, no problem there. I'm gonna shift this down to 1. And yeah, we're just gonna do a little playing around on the throttle here. So we're going like 5 miles an hour now. So woo, it takes off. Yeah, we're already up there almost to 20. get turned around here so we can avoid some of the traffic. Yeah, it's got tons of power on the throttle, and it is, you know, it's a pretty good responsive torque sensor here. So if I just pedal a little bit like this, it's, you know, I'm not even activating it, and then if I start putting a little bit more in, it can really take off. And if you have it in level 5 like this and you're pedaling, oh, it's tons of power. You've got massive acceleration. I was, you know, beating cars off the line at stop signs and stuff earlier, which is just a lot of fun. It's really a good time to ride. Let's see. We'll head over to the bike path here. I mentioned it's not as responsive as a Bosch system might be, but it still is pretty good. I'm going to show you just the responsiveness of it and kind of the volume from the motor down here. Let's pedal a little bit, we don't get anything, and then as soon as I start putting some torque into it, so there's, you know, there's a delay a little bit with the start of the stop. Actually, honestly, the delay feels very similar to what you might get on a cadence sensing system, where you gotta cycle it around a revolution or two before it kicks in, and then when you stop pedaling, it's the same thing, where it keeps going for just, you know, a second or so before it stops. You got the motor inhibitors on the brakes, right? So if you squeeze those levers, it'll stop it. No safety issue or anything, but it's not as responsive as mid drives from, you know, some of the big names out there, but it still does pretty good. And really the big win from it here is that it adjusts. So if I'm pushing just a little, get a little bit of power, and as soon as I put a lot of pressure in, and once the motor is activated, so once you put enough pressure on there to activate the motor, torque sensor's going, it is more instantly responsive for adjusting the assist level, right? So if you go from pedaling lightly to pedaling really strongly, then it does actually, like, it'll kick in really quick. See if I can demo that on the hill right here. So we got just a little bit, and then I'm gonna start pushing harder now. Instant response. So you really only get that delay when you start pedaling and when you stop, but once you're cruising, super responsive. Feels really nice. Compared to a cadence sensing setup, this is really a sweet spot. I'm gonna head back down here. And it feels like such a tank. So much fun to ride. Very stable too. Do a little no hand, just coasting down the incline here. Feels really solid. If you're someone who does like riding around no-handed, let's shift up a little bit here. There we go. Very easy to ride. No noticeable flame flex either. You're getting going pretty quick here, and I mean, you got such a massive down tube on here. Step-throughs like this can have a little bit more frame flex to them, but this one feels awesome. Feels solid. We can really get some speed going. You know, we're up there at 17, 20. So kudos to them that I actually feel safe, you know, riding around no-handed, even at the high speeds. From a ride comfort perspective, it feels pretty dang comfy. I mean, the fat tires like this, if you haven't ridden on one before, it's awesome. They just, so much cushion from those, and you got the suspension. My riding position is, I've got the seat up all the way to max height, right? So I'm leaning forward just a little bit. It's like right in between forward and upright. So it feels pretty comfy. It's not it's not an upright relaxed that you might get with a more cruiser styled bike. Kind of right in the middle there. You can get a adjustable stem, raise the handlebars up if you wanted to. But I think it's pretty solid right here. Take off on the throttle again. Suspension seems to be performing great. I mean, I haven't done a ton of off-roading. I really don't want to get a flat tire, so I'm gonna not get too crazy, but I mean, heck, even just like jumping down curbs with one hand, a little bit like rough spots on the pavement here, feels really solid. You don't get a lot of support from the suspension seat post in the back. You get something. Every little bit helps. So you're getting a lot more cushion from the fat tires than anything else. And there are, bigger and higher performing suspension seat posts out there that get you, maybe like 50 millimeters of travel. So you can always upgrade that if you need to, but I think you're gonna be fine just with the standard setup on here. So look at the derailleur in action back there. So yeah, it's kind of clanky. It is super new, so that's kind of to be expected. Shift it back down. Now you want to be kind of careful with shifting on here. You know, change your assist level down a bit, or just, you know, really lighten up on the pedals when you're shifting gears. These mid-drives from Bafang, they do not have shift detection, and they are connected to the drivetrain. So if you're trying to shift when you're, you know, pedaling hard and got the motor cranked all the way up, that's actually pretty rough on your drivetrain, right? They've got really high quality, you know, stainless steel chains on here that are e-bike rated, so they're more durable, but you don't want to put more wear and tear on it than you need to. It's definitely geared, like, set up for speed. I am in just in third gear right now, and you know, we're going 18 miles an hour, and I've got a pretty decent cadence here. So it's definitely set up for a bit more high-speed riding in mind. Fast and on your left. Oh, we'll definitely slow down for this. Fast and on your left. Would definitely be nice to have fenders for some of these spots. There's a lot of puddles and stuff on this trail. I do have it in the highest level, but I mean, I'm putting in very little effort here to easily maintain cruising speeds of up around 20 miles per hour or so. So for longer distance treks across the city, you know, I was talking to Houshman, who's the owner of eBikes USA, and he's estimating you can get 80 miles for a max range on this. If you're, you know, if you're fit and you're putting some effort in, and instead of cruising around on the throttle, I think that's totally realistic. If you're only going on the throttle and really high assist, then, you know, maybe more around 30 miles for your range. It's always a tough thing to say because it depends on, you know, how much do you weigh as a rider? Where are you riding at? Is it a lot of hills and stuff? How much are you using the throttle? There's a lot of variables. But if you like to put in some work and do some pedaling, you can get a long ways. Let's pass this puddle here. On your left. The acceleration feels so good. Slow down, and then, you know, you start pedaling again for 5 seconds, you're back up 20 plus miles per hour. On your left. Yeah, we hit 28 there, and we're only in 5th gear. We still got 2 more gears up to go. It's a really fun trail over here. I think this is called the Cherry Creek Bike Path, but it's look, I mean, it's such a bummer we don't have fenders because there's just all the snow melt puddles and everything. You know, up front it's not terrible because it's the frame is so large that it's going to block the rider from getting a lot of water, but you don't have any protection in the back, so your bag, your butt's going to get all wet and muddy. Here we can do a little hill climbing test on just the throttle. Let's see how it does. Actually, I should have downshifted a little bit, but hey, we'll try it anyways. This will be a good test. So this is a, you know, decent steep hill here. We're in gear 5, which is not ideal for our motor efficiency, but we're just going to hit the throttle. And I mean, look at that. We're taking off, cruising up the hill. So if I had actually downshifted, then we'd be doing way better. So this is a hill climber of a motor. It can really, it'll handle anything that you throw at it. All right, I got us shifted all the way down here. Here's another, it's not a super steep hill, but pretty decent and a long incline. So we'll try the throttle again here in 1st gear so we get that maximum mechanical advantage. Oh yeah, it just takes off so quick. There does seem to be some sort of an automatic light sensor on the display. That's just, now that I think of it, is probably what that AL sensitivity was for in the settings. Because I have noticed it, you know, getting brighter and darker depending on the, you know, what the lighting is like around me. It's kind of flickering in and out right now because we're going through all this partial shade. But oh, great job on the hill. I mean, no problem at all getting up that. I've actually never biked in this area before, so we're exploring a little bit. See if we can find some good, I think we want to get over into the neighborhoods over there for some nice straightaways. Do a little off-road style. Woohoo! All right. I didn't need both hands for that, but we just rode right over the median and no problem. Like I said, it really does feel like an SUV. You can just go anywhere. Okay, so we got a nice little straightaway here. Like not really any traffic and stuff, good wide road. So I'm going to jump into the display settings here. Move so I can see. And we are going to change the top speed up to 35. Hit exit. And keep in mind that high of a top speed is really designed more for like off-road, private property, outside of city. You definitely don't want to be doing that on a bike path or something like that. It's just not safe when there's other riders around. But in town, it can, or like in a big city, it can actually be really nice if there's no bike lane and you have to ride with traffic. You're a lot safer if you can actually keep pace with traffic a little bit more instead of being stuck way down at 20. So it's really nice to have the power, but don't be a jerk and use it where you shouldn't. Now we're just gonna see how fast we can get going here. Got it in gear 4, so I'm just gonna start pedaling and see what we can do. 15. We're already up to 20. Okay, we're in gear 7. Let's cruise. Woo! 31. Very good stopping power from the brakes there. All right, let's get it going again and see if we can get up a little bit higher. Woo! We hit 32. Oh man, yeah. So as far as, high speed riding in traffic, that kind of thing, more than enough power, and the gearing setup on the drivetrain is great for it too. I hit about 33 miles an hour on that one, and I was still just like a medium cadence. So yeah, I think you could realistically pedal probably as high as like 35, 40 before you wouldn't be able to keep up pedaling the cranks. We got a hill here that I'm gonna try out the throttle on. I did downshift it all the way down into first to give it a little bit more advantage. Mechanical advantage for the motor, but it's a pretty steep hill, so we're gonna try it out. Pure throttle here, and here we go. Whoa! Thought it fell off the back. Yeah, nothing to it. We've accelerated up to about 15 going up the hill. And I mean, I guess we still have 80% battery left, which is, I mean, pretty impressive, honestly. I've been riding it around for, how many miles did I put on here? I've ridden 7 miles on it already. The bike's got just shy of 35 miles ridden on it. We're still at 80% battery. So I think Hushman's estimates for, how much range you could get out of this are it's pretty spot on, I would say. I think that's pretty accurate. All right. So we're gonna put the riding in traffic to the test here. We are on 6th Avenue. Gonna head back over to University Boulevard, right back over to the shop. So the speed limit on the road out here is 30 miles an hour. So I still got it set up at 35 for the top speed on the bike. That way I should be able to keep up with traffic. Just starting out in 3rd gear here so I can get some good acceleration. Bump it on up to 6. We're getting on up close to 30 there. So I've got it all the way up in gear 7 now. As you can see, we're keeping pace pretty well with traffic. People do tend to speed a little bit. We're technically speeding a little bit, going 33. I do have to pedal pretty briskly to be able to keep up this pace. So you definitely get your workout in if you're gonna be doing this. It feels really great riding in this this kind of environment, right? Riding with traffic, it's a huge bike. The white helps it make it super visible. Got the lights on it. You always want to be careful because you're riding around out here with cars, but if you're gonna do it, this would be a great way to. Whew. It's a good workout. All right, we are back at the shop, eBikes USA. Thanks to the guys again for letting me have the SONDORS LX for the afternoon. Really impressed with this bike. I've always liked the stuff SONDORS has been doing, but they've stepped up their game here. It's a lot of fun to ride. It's such a beast, so much speed. I like that it's really approachable. It's only what like a 30-inch or so standover height there, so super easy to mount and dismount. Awesome high capacity battery. Good job on the components and everything. They've really done a great job. It's quite a steal for 2000, I gotta say. So anyways, that's it for today. If you guys got questions about the review, you can chime in the comments section. You can also catch us back on ElectricBikeReview.com. I've got the full written review. It's got all the specs, all the measurements, all the details on the components. You can compare with other SONDORS bikes from other brands. So be sure and check that out. Thanks for coming along, guys. Ride safe out there. We'll see you next time.